The lawyer's office smelled like old paper and broken promises. My hands still reeked of hospital antiseptic as I sat across from Mr. Pemberton, watching his mouth move but barely hearing the words. Then 4 words cut through the fog like a knife. All assets to Maribelle Quinn, my stepsister, the woman who showed up to Dad's hospital room exactly twice in 12 months. I leaned forward, voice shaking. I paid $47,000 for his surgery. I took out loans. I worked 3 jobs. Mr. Pemberton wouldn't meet my eyes. Maribelle sat beside me, perfectly still. Then she leaned close, her breath cold against my ear. "You should have saved your money, Lathan." She dropped a manila folder in my lap. Inside was a signature I'd never seen, attached to documents dated 3 weeks before Dad died. My father's name, but something about the loops felt wrong. I stared at the signature until my vision blurred. Dad always signed with a specific curl on the L in Lawson. This one was flat, lifeless. "Where did this come from?" I asked, holding up the page. Maribelle snatched it back so fast the paper tore slightly. "That's legal property. Touch it again and I'll have you removed." My jaw clenched. He wouldn't cut me out, not after everything. She stood, smoothing her skirt. "People change their minds, Lathan, especially when they realize who really cares." I grabbed my jacket and pushed past her, rage boiling in my throat. Outside, the hallway was empty except for a janitor mopping near the elevator. He looked up, hesitated, then stepped closer. "I shouldn't say nothing, but—" He glanced toward the office door. "I heard things about her and that lawyer." My pulse hammered. "What kind of things?" We stood in the parking garage, shadows stretching long under flickering lights. The janitor, an older man with tired eyes, kept looking over his shoulder. 2 weeks ago, late night, I was cleaning, heard her and Pemberton arguing through the door. He shifted his weight. She said something like, "Make sure Lathan gets nothing." Then I saw her hand him an envelope, thick one. My stomach dropped. "Cash," he nodded. "Looked like it." "I ain't trying to get involved, but your daddy seemed like a good man when he came by before. You deserve to know." Before I could respond, he pressed something small and cold into my palm. A USB drive. Security footage. I copied it before they wiped the system, just in case. I opened my mouth to thank him, but he was already walking away, faster than I expected, disappearing into the stairwell like smoke. Back home, I shoved the USB into my laptop with trembling fingers. The screen filled with grainy footage, timestamps from 2 months ago. Maribelle's voice crackled through my speakers, sharp and demanding. "This isn't enough. I want full control. The house, the accounts, everything." Pemberton's response was calm, practiced. "I'll handle it. He's too distracted caring for your stepfather to notice." My vision tunneled. Another clip showed Maribelle sliding a stack of bills across his desk. "Make it airtight," she said. The final video was the worst, her laughing. "Lathan's so busy playing hero he won't see it coming. Perfect." I sat back numb. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. The message was 2 words. "Delete everything." My hands went cold. Another text followed immediately. "We know where you live." I tried calling back. Straight to voicemail, Maribelle's voicemail. I couldn't sleep. Every shadow outside my window felt like a threat. At 2 in the morning, someone knocked on my door, soft, hesitant. I opened it to find my neighbor, Mrs. Havena, holding a white envelope. "Someone slipped this under your door earlier." I heard footsteps running away. Inside was a photo, me at the hospital, sitting beside Dad's bed, holding his hand. On the back, written in red marker, 3 words, "Stop digging now." My heart slammed against my ribs. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was a warning. I locked every door, checked every window. Then I made a decision. If they wanted me to stop, I'd dig deeper. I grabbed my keys and headed to Dad's bank. If Maribelle could steal signatures, maybe she'd stolen more. The bank manager, a thin woman named Ms. Cranston, pulled up Dad's account with a few clicks. Her face tightened. "There was a withdrawal 3 months ago, $47,000. I gripped the edge of her desk. "He never mentioned that," she scrolled further. "The request came through in person. We have footage." She turned the monitor toward me. There was Maribelle walking out with a bank envelope, casual as if she'd just grabbed groceries. My blood turned to ice. Why would she? Ms. Cranston cleared her throat. "There's something else. Your father left a safety deposit box, keyholder access only." She slid a small brass key across the desk. "He listed you as the secondary holder, said to give it to you if anything happened." My fingers closed around the key, and for the first time in days, I felt something like hope. The deposit box was small, cold, and smelled faintly of metal. Inside was a single envelope marked for Lathan only in Dad's shaky handwriting. I tore it open. His words hit me like a fist. "Son, if you're reading this, something's gone wrong. Maribelle and her mother have been pressuring me for months, asking about accounts, properties, my will. I tried to stand firm, but I'm tired, I'm sick. If my will changes suddenly, know it wasn't my choice." Tears blurred the ink. At the bottom he'd written, "Storage Unit 237, everything you need is there. I'm sorry I wasn't stronger." A keycard fell into my lap. I was about to stand when I saw it. A shadow. In the reflection of the metal box, someone was behind me. I spun around, but the hallway was empty. Just the faint echo of footsteps fading away. I drove to the storage facility that night, adrenaline drowning out fear. Unit 237 was in the back corner, dimly lit and silent. I slid the keycard through the reader. The lock clicked. Inside, boxes were stacked against the walls. Dad's old camera, 3 leather journals, and a locked metal box sitting in the center like a secret waiting to explode. I pried it open with a screwdriver. Documents spilled out. Bank transfers. Forged signatures. Emails between Maribelle and someone named Victoria, her mother, discussing how to secure the estate. At the bottom, a small voice recorder. I pressed play. Dad's voice, weak and broken. "She threatened me, son, said if I didn't cooperate, she'd make sure you got blamed for elder abuse. I didn't know what to do. I'm so sorry." I was still staring at the recorder when I heard the scrape of shoes on concrete. A flashlight beam cut through the dark. "You shouldn't have found that," a voice whispered. I spun around, fists ready, but it wasn't Maribelle, it was a kid. Maybe 16, pale and shaking, holding his phone like a weapon. "Who are you?" I demanded. "Devin." He stammered. "Maribelle's cousin, she made me follow you. I swear I didn't want to." He looked terrified. "She's been lying about everything. The will, the money, all of it. She forged documents weeks before your dad died." My heart pounded. "Why are you telling me this?" He glanced around nervously. "Because it's wrong. And because my Aunt Victoria's the one pulling the strings. Maribelle's just the face." He pulled a flash drive from his pocket. "I copied everything. She doesn't know. If you're smart, you'll use it before she finds out I'm here." Before I could say anything, he was gone, slipping into the night like he'd never existed. I looked down at the flash drive in my hand and felt the weight of everything shift. I called Pemberton's office and demanded a meeting. He tried to refuse, but I told him I had evidence. That changed his tone fast. We met in his office after hours. I could see sweat beading on his forehead before I even sat down. I placed the flash drive on his desk. "Want to tell me what's on here, or should I let the state attorney do it?" His face went white. He stammered, tried to deny it, then cracked like glass. "She promised me a cut, 20% of the estate." "I didn't think you'd fight back." My hands curled into fists. "There was another will, wasn't there?" He nodded slowly. "Your father named you sole heir. I hid it. She told me to." "Where is it?" He scribbled an address on a notepad. "Storage locker, downtown, number 42. Before he could say more, the window exploded inward. Glass sprayed across the room. Someone outside was screaming. Sirens wailed in the distance. Pemberton ducked under his desk, yelling about calling the police. But I was already on my feet, heart hammering. Through the broken window, I saw nothing but darkness. "She did this," Pemberton gasped. "Maribelle reported me for fraud this morning, unrelated case. She's trying to bury me before I talk." I grabbed the address from his desk. "If you're lying to me." "I'm not," he whispered, blood running from a cut on his cheek. "Get that will before she does. It's the only proof." I ran. Police cars screeched into the parking lot as I peeled out. My phone buzzed. Another unknown text. "Turn back now or lose everything." I threw the phone onto the passenger seat and drove faster. I had one shot. One chance to prove Dad wanted me to have what was mine, and I wasn't stopping for anyone. The storage facility downtown was older, grimier. Unit 42 was buried in the back. I cut the lock with bolt cutters I'd bought on the way. Inside, a single dusty folder sat on a metal shelf. I opened it with shaking hands. There it was, the real will, Signed, dated, notarized. I leave all assets, properties, and accounts to my son, Lathan Lawson. Maribelle Quinn and Victoria Quinn are explicitly disinherited due to coercion and manipulation. Tears burned my eyes. Tucked behind the will was a USB stick labeled for Lathan. I plugged it into my phone. Dad's face filled the screen, pale and tired. "Son, if you're watching this, I'm gone. I'm sorry I wasn't strong enough to stop them while I was alive. Protect yourself. They'll come after you. Don't let them win." I was still staring at the screen when I heard footsteps. Maribelle stepped into the doorway, blocking the exit. Her face was calm, too calm. "Hand it over, Lathan, or I'll destroy your life." She moved toward me slowly, like a predator circling prey. "You really think you can win? I have lawyers, money, connections." I held the will against my chest. "I have the truth," she laughed, bitter and sharp. "Truth doesn't matter, power does." I pulled out my phone, hand steady now. "I've already sent everything to the state attorney, recordings, documents, confessions, all of it." Her face drained of color. "You're bluffing. Try me." The sound of tires screeching outside made her freeze. Car doors slammed. Voices shouted commands. 2 officers appeared behind her. "Maribelle Quinn, you're under arrest for forgery, fraud, identity theft, and coercion." She lunged toward me one last time, but they pulled her back. As they cuffed her, she screamed, "You think you've won? You have no idea what's coming." She wasn't working alone. They dragged her away, still screaming. I stood there, will in hand, finally able to breathe. 3 weeks later, I stood in the house that should have been stolen from me. The estate was officially mine. I used part of the money to pay off the medical debt of 2 families I met at the hospital during Dad's treatment. It's what he would have wanted. I hung his photo in the living room. Some days I still heard his voice, telling me to stay strong. The legal case against Maribelle was airtight. Pemberton flipped on her entirely to save himself. She'd go to prison. Victoria, her mother, was under investigation too. Justice felt strange, quieter than I expected, but real. One morning, a letter arrived, no return address. I opened it carefully. Inside, one sentence typed in block letters. She wasn't working alone. My blood went cold. I looked out the window at the empty street and realized this wasn't over. Not yet. If you've ever sacrificed everything for someone you love, only to have it stolen by people who never cared, then you know exactly how Lathan felt. Tell me in the comments, would you have fought back the way he did, or would you have walked away? And if you want to know who sent that final letter and what's really coming for Lathan next, you need to hit that subscribe button right now. Your support decides if this story continues. Don't let this be the end when the truth is just starting to surface. Subscribe, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and drop a comment below. Let's finish what Lathan started together.